Shalom. Why must we finish eating matzah before midnight in the light of the seder? Why do we have to eat the afikoman before midnight? I would just like to share with you something I read in the Hagadat ha-Rav from the teachings of Rabi Soloveitchik. Of course, it's my own take on it, but it's based on what he said. And of course, with Rabi Soloveitchik, most things start with dividing an issue into two aspects or two processes or two ways of looking at it or two different things that were going on. With regard to our redemption, our freedom from slavery in Egypt, there are here two aspects, two processes. One was the freedom we obtained before the Exodus, when we had the mitzvah of eating matzah and other mitzvahs given to us. Because having mitzvot and performing mitzvot frees us. The Rav quotes a law in Dinei Avadim, in the rules of servitude, which even though they're not applicable today so much because we don't have, formally speaking anyway, this type of servitude, there's a lot of ethical, and I mean ethical, lessons that we can learn from them. And one of them is that if the master of a servant has that servant put on tefillin, that servant is immediately set free. Performing the mitzvah sets him free. Now, similarly, our receiving and performing the mitzvahs that we got before the night of the Exodus were a part of, or an essential element of, or even the main thing standing behind our redemption. And then there was the miraculous divine intervention at the night that we left, in the splitting of the Red Sea, and so on. Now, the Rav says we can make an analogy between what the Talmud discusses, the two different historical events, and the difference in their legal implications with regard to our taking possession of our homeland in the land of Israel. Kibush Rishon, the one of Joshua, was done by force with the help of divine intervention, or midot adin, as the Rav would also say. And for that reason, it was temporal. Whatever you take by force, someone else can take from you with a greater force, which is what happened with the Babylonians. Took the country by force and kicked us out. The second kibush, the second one, in the time of the second temple, was not done by force and with no obvious Sturm und Drang divine intervention. The Jews who were in exile, and actually if you read the books of Ezra and Nehemiah, only a small portion of them, with the help of a very friendly Persian king, had the inspiration to come and rebuild their homeland and rebuild the temple. And for that reason, the Talmud tells us that the Kibush Rishon, whatever was taken by Joshua in that, was nullified with the conquest of the Babylonians. But whatever was taken, whatever parts of the land were repossessed and resettled in the second settlement, the second possession of the land of Israel by the people in the second temple, some 500 years before the current era or whatever, that is permanent. That never changed, never nullified, never lessened, despite all the conquest by the foreigners, whether be they Romans or Hellenic Greeks or Persians or Ottoman Turks or Mamluks or Arabs of one political bent or another. Made no doubt, up and of course to the British, didn't make the slightest dent in our legal possession of the land of Israel. Similarly, so what Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, who's the Tana who insists that we eat matzah before midnight, is saying, he's emphasizing that we should be sure that our redemption is due to our own willful, freely chosen act of performing mitzvot, rather than the divine intervention of that occurred after midnight, because that's permanent and long lasting. Subjugating ourselves to God sets us free, and for that reason, the Rav says we take care to eat the afikoman before midnight, so that our redemption is based on our freely chosen submission to the will of God and the performance of His commandments. Thank you, and Chag Sameach.